All right, today we are diving deep into the gritty, heartbreaking, and honestly incredibly defiant world of the film Dexian Jinzhi. We're going to break down all the highlight moments, the characters, and the hidden details that make this movie just so powerful. Okay, let's get right into it.
This line right here, this is basically the soul of the entire film. It's the promise that's whispered by a craftsman, but also screamed by a town that's been pushed to its absolute breaking point. It sets up the core conflict immediately. This isn't just about trying to survive, it's about holding on to your spirit when faced with an overwhelming force.
So, to really get that defiant spirit, we've got to start with the world that created it. Let's take a walk through Goji Town.
The film doesn't really give us those huge, sweeping battlefields. Instead, it drops us right into 1943, into a world that feels, well, a little too real. The colors are all muted, kind of like a faded old photo, but the details are so sharp. You can almost feel the heat from the stoves, the dirt on the streets. This is not some stylized war movie. It's made to feel like this could be your town, your home, which makes the horror that follows feel so much more personal and oppressive.
And right at the heart of this town is a man named Dexian. His journey from being a self-proclaimed coward to this unbelievable hero is really the emotional anchor of the whole story.
What's so wild is the sheer contrast. When we first meet Dexian, he is almost painfully timid. He's the guy who runs from danger, clutching his toolbox for dear life, and he can't even figure out how to work a rifle. But then, look at the man he becomes. He walks, calm as anything, toward the enemy, carrying a bamboo pole packed with explosives, a coffin he literally built for himself. So how on earth does that happen?
Well, the thing is, this transformation wasn't some sudden snap. It was a quiet, meticulous process. While everyone thought he was a coward, he was secretly preparing. He was applying his lifelong code of diligence in craft, not to woodworking, but to warfare. Every knife he sharpened, every farm tool he turned into a mine, that was a small act of defiance. This wasn't just a hero being born. This was a craftsman finding his ultimate purpose, protecting his home.
And it all comes to a head with this line. Right before his final act, he says this. And it's such a strange, almost absurd thing to say. But coming from a man who spent his whole life running, it is just profoundly heartbreaking. It's his final announcement that he's conquered his fear, not for some grand glory, but for the simple reason that there was nowhere left to run. His home was right there, behind him.
But here's the thing, Dexian wasn't alone. His courage was really just a reflection of the entire town's spirit. And that spirit showed itself in some of the most surreal and unforgettable acts of defiance you will probably ever see on screen.
No, really, just think about that for a second. It sounds like the setup to a crazy joke, right? But in Goji Town, it was a desperate strategy. The film is filled with these moments that are so tragic they become darkly funny, making you want to laugh and cry at the exact same time.
I mean, you've got a 90-year-old grandfather chasing a literal tank with a tiny little axe. And when the axe breaks, he just starts throwing rocks. Villagers mix chili powder and firecrackers to try and choke out the invaders. A wounded soldier who can barely even stand screams at his friends to fire this ancient rusted cannon. On the surface, these actions seem completely pointless, almost silly.
And that is the crucial point. Their methods were absurd because their situation was impossible. They didn't have guns, they didn't have bombs, they had kitchen knives and farm tools. The absurdity isn't the joke, it's the entire point of these scenes. It shows the incredible, unbelievable courage it takes to face a modern army when all you have is what's in your own two hands.
The grandfather says this in the film, and it just perfectly sums up the spirit of these moments. Yeah, their bodies might be broken and their weapons might be useless, but as long as their will to fight back is still there, there's a flicker of hope. That defiant heart is the lamp wick that just won't go out.
So, this whole idea of an unkillable spirit, this lamp wick that refuses to be extinguished, brings us right to the heart of the film, its title. Dexian Jinzhi isn't just a random name. It's the entire philosophy of the story, and it's woven right into the main character's identity. Let's break it down. The main character's name, Dexian, is a pretty brilliant play on words. Dexian means to have leisure or free time, something that's completely impossible in an era of total chaos. Just staying alive is a luxury. Jinzhi, on the other hand, means something is diligently made. It's the mark of pride a craftsman leaves on his work. So for Dexian, this personal code of conduct ends up scaling up. It becomes a metaphor for a nation's integrity, its backbone. This line from the film really honors all those ordinary people, the nobodies of history, who just picked up whatever tools they had and fought back. History might not remember their names, but their legacy is the simple fact that the next generation gets to survive. It's a beautiful tribute to countless, nameless heroes.
Okay, now for the really fun part. The director has hidden so many layers of meaning and symbolism all throughout this movie. If you were paying super close attention, you might have caught some of them, but let's point out a few of the absolute best ones.
This stuff just shows how deep this film is. Those sheep you see floating down the river at the start, that's some chilling foreshadowing of the townspeople's fate, like lambs to the slaughter. When the grandfather is chasing a pig, it's not just random chaos. The Chinese character for home actually contains the character for pig, so he's literally chasing his lost home. Even the son's name is a nod to a famous patriotic poem about not wasting a moment in defending your country. And that happy family reunion at the very end, it's shot in black and white, which leads a lot of people to believe it's just a dying fantasy. The heartbreaking reality is that probably nobody made it out.
So as the film closes on this devastating note, you hear this cheerful, super familiar tune, Gongxi Gongxi, a song we all know from Chinese New Year. It feels completely out of place, right? Almost cruel. So what is it actually congratulating?
And here it is, the final hidden blade. That song, Gongxi Gongxi, wasn't originally a New Year's song at all. It was written in 1945 to celebrate China's victory and survival after 8 long years of war. The film uses it to deliver one last, gut-wrenching message. The congratulations aren't for the characters we just watched die. They're for us, the audience. Congratulations for being the children and grandchildren who get to live on.